Hey, hey, hey! Have you ever met someone who teaches English at school, runs a daycare for little kids, and makes online English videos all in the same day? Yes, the same one person. Today, we are telling her story, and trust me, you will not want to miss this. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mr. English Podcast, your favorite place to learn real, everyday English through real, everyday conversations. I'm Emma.
And I'm James. And friends, if this is your first time here, welcome to the family. We are so happy you found us.
And if you have been listening for a while, you already know what we do here. We talk, we laugh, we learn English together, like real friends sitting in the same room.
So, before we jump in, please take 2 seconds right now and subscribe to Mr. English Podcast. Share it with one friend who is learning English, just one friend. That small action helps us reach more learners around the world.
Okay, James, are you ready to talk about today's topic?
I have been ready since this morning. Actually, since yesterday. I could not stop thinking about this story.
That is how I felt too, because today we are talking about the daily routine of a very, very busy woman.
Very busy. Like, honestly, I felt tired just hearing about her day.
Same. She is an elementary school English teacher. She also runs a daycare where she teaches English to very young children. And on top of all that, she makes online English learning tutorial videos.
3 jobs, 1 person, 1 day.
And she does it every single day.
I make 1 podcast episode and I need a nap.
James, you are not wrong, but her story is so interesting and honestly so inspiring. So let's begin from the very beginning of her day.
The morning.
The morning. Now, her name is Miss Lisa. She is an English teacher at a small elementary school. She's been teaching for about 6 years now.
And she loves it. That is the first thing I want to say. She genuinely loves what she does.
You can feel that when you hear her talk about her students. Her face just lights up.
Okay, so let's start from the top. What time does Miss Lisa wake up?
She wakes up at 5:15 in the morning.
5:15.
Yes.
Not 5, not 5:30, 5:15. Very specific.
She says 5 o'clock felt too early and 5:30 felt too late, so she found her perfect middle number.
That is actually a very logical way to think about it.
Right? So her alarm goes off at 5:15, and here's the thing, she does not hit snooze.
No snooze button.
No snooze button. She says if she hits snooze even once, everything falls apart.
I fully understand this. The snooze button is my biggest enemy every morning.
So she gets up immediately. She goes to the kitchen, and the very first thing she does is make a big cup of coffee.
Okay, now we are speaking my language.
She says the coffee is not optional. It is necessary, like it's part of the plan.
Coffee is not a choice, it is a requirement.
Exactly. So she drinks her coffee quietly, usually standing at the kitchen counter, looking outside. She says those 10 minutes of silence before the day starts are very important to her.
Because after those 10 minutes, things get very loud very fast.
Very, very loud. She has 2 young children of her own at home, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old.
So she's a mom, too.
Yes, 4 jobs if we count that one.
We absolutely should count that one.
So, after her quiet coffee time, she starts waking the kids up, getting them dressed, making breakfast, packing their bags, the whole morning routine for a family of 4, because her husband also needs to be somewhere by a certain time.
Mornings with young children are something else entirely.
They really are. She told me that one morning, her 5-year-old decided he only wanted to wear his superhero costume to school. Not his uniform, his costume.
And what happened?
She spent 12 minutes explaining why that was not going to work.
12 minutes of negotiation with a 5-year-old.
And she had to leave for school in 15 minutes.
That is a very tight situation.
She managed it. She always manages it. But she says those kinds of mornings test every skill she has.
Patience, communication, creativity, all the good stuff.
All of it. Okay, so she drops the kids off, and then she drives to school. The elementary school is about 20 minutes from her house.
Does she listen to anything in the car?
Yes, actually. She listens to simple English podcasts sometimes, or she talks to herself quietly, practicing how she will explain something to her students that day.
She practices out loud while driving?
She does. She says it helps her find the simplest and clearest way to say things, because with young learners, every word matters. If one word is too hard, they lose interest immediately.
That is such a good point. I never thought about how much preparation goes into finding the right words for children.
It's a whole skill on its own. She says the hardest part of teaching English to young kids is not knowing the language, it's knowing how to break it down into the tiniest, most simple pieces.
Like explaining what the word under means without using any complicated words to explain it.
Yes, she once had to explain the word between using only her hands, 2 pencils, and a rubber eraser.
And did it work?
The kids understood it completely. They were so excited. One little girl kept putting things between other things for the rest of the class.
That is the best kind of learning, when a child becomes obsessed with a new word they just learned.
Right? Okay, so she arrives at school around 7:45. School starts at 8, so she uses those 15 minutes to set up her classroom, review her lesson notes, and sometimes drink the rest of her coffee that she brought in a travel cup.
Smart woman. Never waste the coffee.
Never. So her school day begins. She teaches English to 3 different classes: first graders, second graders, and third graders.
3 different age groups, 3 different energy levels.
3 very different energy levels. She says first graders are like little tornadoes. They have so much energy and curiosity, but their attention lasts about 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Maximum. After 4 minutes, someone is looking at a bug on the floor, someone else is whispering, and one kid in the back is somehow already half asleep.
How does she handle that?
She changes activities constantly. Every few minutes, something new happens. They might be singing a word, then acting it out, then drawing it, then saying it to a partner. She keeps them moving.
So her lessons are like mini adventures.
That is exactly how she describes it. She says a lesson has to feel like a little story with different parts, a beginning that surprises them, a middle that makes them do something, and an end that makes them feel proud of what they learned.
That is honestly brilliant teaching.
She is very thoughtful about it. Second graders are a bit different. They can focus a little longer, maybe 8 or 9 minutes before they need something new.
Double the attention span. Progress.
Progress indeed. And third graders are starting to feel more confident in English. They like to show what they know. They like games where they can compete in a friendly way.
So she adjusts everything for each group.
Every single lesson. She does not use the exact same method with all 3 groups. She changes her voice, her pace, her activities. Everything shifts depending on who's in the room.
That is a lot of mental work. You are basically a different kind of teacher 3 times in one morning.
She said exactly that. She told me that by lunchtime, her brain feels like it has already had a very full day. But lunch is not really a break for her either.
Why not?
Because during lunch, she's usually responding to parents. Parents send messages about their kids, questions about homework, questions about what they covered in class, questions about whether little Tommy is making progress.
Is little Tommy making progress?
Little Tommy is trying his best.
Good enough.
So lunch is a working lunch most days. She eats quickly, answers messages, and maybe steps outside for 5 minutes of fresh air if she's lucky.
And then afternoon classes continue.
Yes. She finishes her last class around 2:30, and here is where the day takes a very big turn.
The daycare.
The daycare. So Miss Lisa started a small daycare program about 2 years ago. It runs in the afternoon, after school hours. She uses a space attached to her home. Her husband helped set it up. There are small tables, colorful posters, alphabet letters on the wall, and little cubbies where each child puts their things.
It sounds really sweet, actually.
It is so sweet. The kids who come are between 3 and 6 years old. Parents drop them off after their own workday. And for about 2.5 hours, Miss Lisa teaches them basic English.
Wait, she drives from school to home in time to start the daycare?
She has about 25 minutes between finishing school and the first daycare child arriving. So she changes her shirt, puts on comfortable shoes, has a glass of water, and takes 3 deep breaths.
3 deep breaths. That's her transition.
That's her whole transition. 3 breaths and a glass of water.
I respect that so much.
The daycare teaches English in the most playful way possible because these are very young children, some of whom don't speak any English at home, so she starts from 0 with them.
Colors, numbers, animals, greetings.
All of that. But she doesn't just sit them down and say, "Repeat after me." She uses songs, puppets, little games, flashcards with bright pictures. She once made a whole lesson about animals just by walking around the backyard and finding real things.
She took them outside?
Yes, they found a leaf and she taught the word green. They found a small stone and she taught the word hard. They saw a dog through the fence and half the lesson became about describing the dog.
That's brilliant. The lesson came from the real world.
That's what she says is the best kind of English learning for young children, when they see a real thing and learn the real word for it at the same time. That word stays with them much longer.
Because there's a picture attached to the memory.
Exactly. She has about 8 to 10 children in the daycare on any given afternoon, and she knows every single one of them differently. She knows which child is shy and needs a gentle push. She knows which child is loud and needs to be guided so they don't take over the whole lesson. She knows which child learns best through movement and which one learns best through listening.
That is not just teaching, that is knowing people.
Deep people knowledge. And she says that is what makes the daycare so meaningful to her. She watches these little ones grow. A child who would not say a single English word in September is raising their hand to answer questions by December.
That is amazing.
She told me about one little girl named Lily. When Lily first came to the daycare, she would not speak at all. She would sit very quietly and just watch the other children. She never raised her hand. She would not even say yes or no.
That must have been hard to watch.
Miss Lisa said she did not push Lily. She just made sure Lily felt safe and comfortable. She always included her gently, never forced her. She would say things like, "Lily, can you point to the blue circle?" So Lily could participate without speaking at first.
That is such a kind approach.
And slowly, Lily began to respond. A small nod, then a whisper, then one word, then 2 words. And one afternoon, Lily stood up during a game without being asked and said 3 whole sentences in English, perfectly.
Wow.
Miss Lisa said she had to turn away for a moment because her eyes filled up.
I completely understand that. That is the moment you work so hard for.
She said teaching is full of those moments if you pay attention, and those moments are why she keeps going even on the days when she is absolutely exhausted.
Okay, so the daycare ends at what time?
Around 5 or 5:30, depending on when parents arrive. And then she has her own children to manage again. Her 5-year-old and 7-year-old are usually with her husband during daycare hours, but by 5:30, they are all together again.
So she makes dinner, helps with homework, does bath time, all the regular family things?
All of it. And she does it. Some days with more energy than others. She admitted that some evenings she is standing at the stove stirring pasta, and she honestly cannot remember what she made for lunch.
The brain just stops keeping records at a certain point.
It does. She said she once made a cup of tea, set it on the counter, forgot about it completely, found it 2 hours later stone cold, and then was genuinely upset about it.
As you should be. Cold tea is a tragedy.
A small but real tragedy. But here's where the day gets even more interesting, because after the kids are in bed, usually around 8:30 or 9, Miss Lisa sits down at her desk.
The online videos.
Yes. She started making online English learning tutorial videos about a year and a half ago. Short videos for beginner English learners. Things like how to introduce yourself, how to talk about your family, how to describe your morning routine.
Things that real people actually need.
Yes, very practical, very simple, very clear. She films them at her desk. Plain background, good lighting, just her speaking directly to the camera, like she's talking to one person.
That is actually the most effective style for beginners, I think, when it feels personal.
She said that's exactly why she chose that format. She doesn't want it to feel like a classroom. She wants the person watching to feel like they have a patient friend explaining things to them.
A patient friend who happens to know English very well.
Exactly that. She plans her videos during the week when she has small pockets of time. On her lunch break, she might jot down 3 ideas. While waiting to pick up her kids, she might record a voice note to herself about how she wants to explain something.
She is always collecting ideas.
Always. And then, in the evening, she edits the videos. She learned video editing herself by watching tutorials online. She said the first videos she made were not great quality. The lighting was bad, the sound was not clear, she talked too fast.
We all start somewhere.
We really do. But she kept going. She improved slowly, and now people from many different countries watch her videos. She gets comments from people in Brazil, in South Korea, in Egypt, in Poland, all learning English from a small elementary school teacher recording at her desk after putting her kids in bed.
That is genuinely incredible.
She reads every comment, and when someone says, "I understood this finally because of your video," she feels the same kind of feeling she feels when Lily speaks 3 sentences for the first time.
That feeling of connection, of actually helping someone.
That is what keeps her going. She makes 2 or 3 videos per week. Some nights the editing takes an hour, some nights it takes 2. She usually finishes between 10:30 and 11 at night.
And then she has to wake up at 5:15 the next morning.
5:15 sharp, no snooze.
I am exhausted just following her through one day.
Me too. But here's what's interesting. When I asked her if she ever thought about slowing down or stopping one of her jobs, she got quiet for a moment.
What did she say?
She said she thinks about it sometimes, usually on the very difficult days, the days when everything goes wrong at once, a lesson that doesn't work the way she planned, a child at the daycare who is having a hard time, a video that she films 3 times and still doesn't feel right, her own kids being extra difficult at bedtime.
Those days must feel very heavy.
She said they do, and she said on those days she has a small rule for herself. She's not allowed to make big decisions when she's tired, because when you're tired, everything feels impossible.
That is actually very wise advice for anyone.
Do not decide to quit something at 10 at night when you've been going since 5 in the morning.
Make the big decision after a good sleep and a coffee.
She has slept on it many times, and every time she wakes up the next morning, she still wants to do it all.
That tells you everything about the person.
It does. She also talked about what she does when she feels completely drained, like not just tired, but truly empty.
What does she do?
She goes back to a simple thing. She finds one good moment from the day and focuses on just that. One child who laughed at something she said. One student who finally understood a word they had been struggling with. One comment on a video from someone saying thank you.
She collects the small good moments.
She keeps them close. She said a big life does not always have big moments. Mostly it is made of small ones. And if you can see the small ones clearly, the big ones feel even bigger when they come.
I want to write that down.
Me too, James. Me too.
Okay, so let's talk a little about her teaching style, because I think a lot of our listeners are English learners themselves, and maybe hearing how she thinks about teaching can help them think about their own learning.
That is a great idea. So, one of the biggest things she believes is that repetition is not boring if it's done in different ways.
Explain that more.
So, she might teach the word jump to first graders. On Monday, they say the word. On Tuesday, they act it out. On Wednesday, it appears in a little song. On Thursday, they find it in a short sentence. On Friday, they use it in a game. Same word, 5 different experiences.
And by Friday, that word is completely theirs.
Completely. She says most people think repetition means saying the same thing over and over in the same way, but that is not how the brain works. The brain remembers things better when it meets them in different situations.
So if you're a learner at home and you want to remember a new word, don't just write it 10 times.
Write it once, say it out loud, use it in a sentence about your real life, hear it in a song, see it in a video. Each time you meet it differently, it becomes stronger in your memory.
That is actually very helpful advice.
She also believes that making mistakes is absolutely necessary. She does not correct children harshly. If a child says something a little wrong, she responds naturally, using the correct form in her answer.
Can you give an example?
Yes, if a child says, "I goed to the park," she doesn't stop and say, "No, that is wrong." She says, "Oh, you went to the park? That sounds so fun. What did you do there?"
So the child hears the correct word in a natural way.
And feels safe, because the lesson continued and they were not embarrassed. She says embarrassment is one of the biggest reasons people stop trying to speak a new language.
That's so true. I know adults who are afraid to speak English because they're scared of making mistakes.
And that fear is the only real barrier, because the knowledge is there. They just need to feel safe enough to use it.
Miss Lisa sounds like someone who creates safety in her classroom, in her daycare, in her videos.
That's exactly the word. Safety. She said every learner needs to feel safe before they can grow. And that applies to a 3-year-old in a daycare and a 40-year-old watching a tutorial video at midnight.
Both of them need the same thing, someone who is patient and kind.
And someone who genuinely believes they can do it. She said she always believes in her students, even when they don't believe in themselves yet. She holds that belief for them until they're ready to hold it themselves.
That is really beautiful.
It is. Okay, let's also talk about the weekend, because I was very curious. What does Miss Lisa do when she's not teaching or recording or running a daycare?
Does she rest? Please tell me she rests.
She does try to rest on Sundays. Saturday, she usually catches up on things, planning for the next week, editing a video she couldn't finish during the week, grocery shopping, normal life things.
The Saturday catch-up is real for a lot of people.
Very real. But Sunday, she protects. She says Sunday is family time. She tries not to open her work email. She doesn't plan lessons or edit videos. She and her husband take the kids somewhere. Sometimes the park, sometimes just a drive. Sometimes they stay home and cook a big meal together.
That sounds genuinely restorative.
She said without Sunday, she wouldn't be able to do everything she does the other 6 days.
That's the key point right there. You can't pour from an empty cup. You need to fill yourself back up.
She's very clear about that. And she told me something that really stayed with me. She said she used to feel guilty for resting.
Guilty for resting?
Yes. She said she would sit down on a Sunday afternoon and think, I should be planning, I should be editing. There's always more to do.
I think so many people feel that.
But she realized that the guilt was not making her more productive. It was just making her rest time feel stressful. So she made a decision. On Sunday, rest is the job. Rest is the work she is doing, and she stopped apologizing to herself for it.
Rest as a job. I love that.
Once she thought of it that way, she could actually enjoy it, and the next week she had so much more to give.
Because she was full again.
Exactly. Okay, James, I want to ask you, if you were a student in Miss Lisa's class, what do you think you would be like?
Oh, that is a dangerous question.
Why?
Because I have a feeling I would be the one making the teacher laugh unintentionally. Like I would use a word completely wrong in the most creative and strange way possible.
What kind of mistake?
I once told someone I was very full of embarrassment instead of very embarrassed. I constructed that sentence completely by myself and was very proud of it.
That is actually kind of charming, though.
The person I was talking to was very confused, but they were kind about it, just like Miss Lisa would be.
She would respond naturally and make you feel okay. That is her whole approach.
What about you? What kind of student would you be?
I think think I would be the quiet one. The one who knows the answer but waits to make sure it is completely right before saying it out loud.
The perfectionist.
Yes, which is its own kind of problem, because sometimes you wait so long that the moment passes.
And then someone else says the answer and you think, yes, that is exactly what I was going to say.
Every time.
Okay, so as we get close to the end of today's conversation, let me ask you this. What is the one thing from Miss Lisa's story that you think every English learner should know?
I keep coming back to something she said about small moments. She said that progress in language learning is not always obvious. Some days you will not feel like you learned anything, but something was happening quietly. A word was getting more familiar. A sound was becoming easier. A sentence was forming more naturally.
The growth is not always visible.
But it is happening. And she said you have to trust the process even when you can't see the results yet.
That is such important advice, because so many learners give up right before the moment when it starts to click.
Right before the Lily moment. Right before they stand up and speak 3 sentences perfectly without being asked.
Keep going until your Lily moment.
Yes. And what about you, James? What will you take from her story?
For me, it's the idea of different kinds of repetition. I think I used to study in a very flat way. I would read the same thing again and again and wonder why it wasn't sticking. But hearing how she teaches the same word through 5 different experiences across 1 week completely changed how I think about learning.
Meet the word in different situations, and it becomes truly yours.
And don't be afraid to meet it in a silly or creative way. Sing the word, act it out, use it in a funny sentence. The stranger the memory, the stronger it sticks.
That's actually a great point. Emotion and creativity help memory.
Miss Lisa knows what she's doing.
She really does. Okay, let's land the plane. Before we close today, I want to say something to our listeners.
Go ahead.
I want to say something to our listeners. If you're learning English right now, whether you're a complete beginner or somewhere in the middle, I want you to think about Miss Lisa.
She teaches a full school day. She runs a daycare. She makes videos. She's a mom. And she still believes deeply that learning and growing is always worth the effort.
If she can find time and energy and love for teaching in that kind of schedule, you can find 15 minutes today to practice English.
15 minutes. One small thing. One new word. One short sentence spoken out loud. That's your Lily moment waiting to happen.
And we'll be here every episode to walk that road with you.
Absolutely. Now, friends, it's your turn. We want to hear from you in the comments. What is your daily routine like? Do you have a special time of day when you practice English? Is there a teacher or someone in your life who helped you learn? Share your story with us.
And if you want, try using one of the ideas we talked about today. Take a new English word and meet it 5 different ways this week. Then come back and tell us how it went.
We love reading your comments. We read every single one.
Every one. And before you go, please subscribe to Mr. English Podcast if you haven't already. Share this episode with someone who is learning English, even one person. Your small action helps this little podcast reach more learners around the world.
We're building something real here, a community of learners who support each other, and you are part of that.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. And thank you for trusting us to walk this English journey with you.
This is James.
And this is Emma. And you've been listening to Mr. English Podcast. Keep showing up, keep trying, and remember, every expert was once a complete beginner.
See you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.